Today we're going to be talking about exactly how hard it is to buy land and build on it in today's world, where the system really set up to not really be favorable for that. Oh yeah. Yep, in today's world it's certainly difficult to buy land and build on it. How's it going, guys, and welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk. My name is Chad and this is The Hopeful Homestead. In this series of videos I like to sit out here with a cup of coffee in my little tiny cabin on wheels parked out on my family's property here and talk to all the husbands and dads out there about all the difficult things in life we have to deal with. And today, one of the most difficult things my family's had to deal with and I've had to deal with over the past couple of years is trying to build our home on our piece of land that we bought with the equity from selling our other home that we loved. And in today's world, in a post-COVID world, and it is extremely difficult to be able to do that. It's something that in the past was more reachable and attainable. Decades ago, you used to be able to buy a piece of land for dirt cheap, hire a contractor and be able to build, find a bank that'll rock and roll with you, and there was a lot less regulation around it, and you could do it a lot easier than you can in today's world. And besides all the factors that you might be familiar with or assume would be the case, like, yeah, building materials are way more expensive now. They're disproportionately high. And yeah, land is expensive unless you're living in the middle of absolutely nowhere. We're here in South Florida. We're only 30 minutes from the beach. It's pretty expensive to buy land here, and it's really hard to find available land, sizable land. And if you're not trying to do something crazy extravagant, if you're not just loaded with bottomless pockets and a bottomless wallet where you can just shell out millions of dollars to be able to do whatever you want and do it without a bank, if you're not able to do any of that and you're trying to just build a reasonable, yeah, custom, but a reasonable, nice home that's fairly modest, but still something you're designing, that's what we're doing. We're building a 2,700 square foot, 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, little farmhouse with a wraparound porch. Nothing super crazy. That has proven to be astronomically difficult in today's world to be able to do, especially because we're doing it on 21 acres of land. And that's the point I want to make today, that I wish someone had told me beforehand that I could be aware of heading into this, that nothing online broke this down and made this a clear point. If you're buying land to build on, it's because you're buying something other than a quarter acre lot in a subdivision. That's not what I'm talking about. That's a pre-packaged deal where there's a developer there. They've already segmented everything out. They've already got a house mostly picked out that you can pick from for some options. That's not what I'm talking about. And that's usually on like a quarter acre lot. I'm talking about you go out and you find some random piece of land somewhere that might not even be a part of any sort of subdivision. It's just undeveloped land. And usually that comes with acreage, because that's usually what you're wanting to do when you're doing this. You're wanting to buy something you can sort of get lost on. And if you're doing that, the harsh reality is, what we learned through the bank approval process with trying to get an appraisal done for what this would be valued at after we were done building, is you will not get credit in your appraisal for the land that you're buying. No matter how much you spend on that land, and no matter how valuable the land is for resale value. As far as comps go, banks and their appraisers do not like even thinking about giving you credit for the amount of land. Like for us, we kept getting told by the appraiser through our bank that we just wouldn't get credit for much more than 5 acres. So even though we got 21, and the value of how hard it is to find 21 acres of land in this area of Florida, this close to the beach, that is valuable, and it would cost a lot of money to, if we were to sell this land, it would be worth a lot. But as far as the bank goes, with a construction loan to build, they don't want to touch that for some reason, and they won't give you credit for that towards your future assessed value. And that's a big part of the equation when trying to build with a bank loan. If you're able to do what you want with cash, then this doesn't apply to you. And that's why me and my family are building the small little guest house first, so that we can do it with cash and not have to deal with a bank. And we're going to get an occupancy permit and live out here by doing it that way. And then we'll worry about doing it with the bank for the main house later. But that's what I wish someone had told me, is that if you're using a bank, the appraiser is not going to give you the value. But part of the significance of that is that the bank only wants to lend about 80%. Usually that's the best case scenario. Most banks will lend 80% of the final completed value of the project. So say you're going to spend 500 grand to build everything, and say you have a 200 grand in a land loan that you got to pay off. So right there you got 700 grand that you're trying to incorporate into a mortgage that, after everything's done. And the bank will only lend 80% of the final value of what they think it's worth, what the appraiser thinks it's going to be worth in the end. So in that scenario, if you're 700 grand in what you're trying to do, say you're say you bought your land for 500 grand and you paid 300 grand as a down payment on that land, and now you only got 200 grand on a land loan. The bank is not going to give you credit for that 300 grand of equity you have in the land. Because they are only going to be giving you comps based on the same rough kind of house you're planning on building on smaller plots of land. They're not going to be able to, because there's hardly any comps out there, at least in our area, for 20-acre parcels. So they're not even going to give you credit for what the value is, and that's not going to be able to contribute towards that future assessed value and towards that loan-to-value ratio of 80%. So for us, the problem was, yeah, we got a lot of equity in this land, but none of it was available to us from the appraiser's perspective towards that loan-to-value ratio. So as a result, the bank was wanting us to come up with almost 40% of the cost to build, because we also had a land loan to pay off. And so, yeah, if we didn't have a land loan, if we owned this place in cash, we might have been able to do it. But because we needed to pay off the land loan that was a part of this whole deal to be able to do all this, the amount of money that was going to take to pay off that land loan was causing the bank to have a discrepancy of what they think it's going to be worth, even though it's completely wrong. We will be able to finish this and be able to sell this for plenty enough money to be able to make plenty of profit beyond what the cost to build would actually be. Because we won't get actual credit in the final value for the land that's here, we're being unfairly compared to 4-bed, 3-bathroom homes that are on 2 acres of land. And that's just not the same thing here. If you've got 21 acres and you've got a similar size house, that's rare, and that comes with added value in actual reality. But with what the bank and the appraiser is willing to give you credit for is unfortunately not going to factor that into the equation. What I wish someone had told me is that if you need a loan from a bank to be able to cover the majority of the cost to build your home, you basically need to try to have your land paid for. You need to wait, pay off your land, or buy land that you can buy in cash and not have to have a land loan with. That land needs to be only an asset as part of the equation. If it's part of the debt, that's going to really throw off, because they're not going to, no matter how much equity you actually have in the land. Like I said, we could sell our land right now unimproved and make hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity off of it, because I know that's what the market would actually supply. But the bank won't give us credit for that equity that we have. So as a result, we would have to have a lot more money as a down payment towards that construction loan. We were hoping that the value of the land would be able to offset some of that. And in today's world, that may have been the case 20, 30 years ago. The banks were willing to use land as leverage to be able to make things sweeten the deal and work out, but that's just not the case today. They just don't want to do that. And so if you're thinking about doing this, if you're thinking about buying land and building on it, you need to make sure that that land is something that is paid for and you owe nothing on, because that is going to be the X factor that will make or break how much money you actually have to bring to the table to be able to close on your construction loan. But thanks for watching all the way through. If you did, I appreciate it as always. Again, my name is Chad. This is The Hopeful Homestead, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Later.